Today's show is brought to you by Prescott Honda. Better cars don't cost more. By Tender Hearts Senior Care. We're there because we care. By Cliff Castle Casino Hotel. Always friendly, always fun.
Local Red Cross volunteers continue to deploy to flood and tornado-stricken areas in the South. The American Red Cross Grand Canyon chapter is continuing to deploy volunteers to the devastated areas throughout the South. Now, the Mississippi River continues to threaten large areas with record flooding. The Red Cross will remain at the ready to assist those communities being impacted. The Red Cross has launched 20 separate relief operations over more than half of the United States since March 31st, and this particular latest group will bring the totals to 14, with others still on standby for deployment if necessary. So they are on the job. We are aiding and helping the people in the flood and tornado-stricken areas in the South, and they have received more than their share of disaster this season, as we all know. Andrea Goeglein is with us, and I didn't want to disappoint you because you know I'm chastised gently every show. So, Mom, I didn't want to disappoint you today. This is like Prescott and Prescott. So it's Martin E.P.
Seligman.
Seligman. Thank you.
Unlike Seligman,
where we live.
Which is our Arizona town.
I mean, our Arizona town. We don't
yes.
live there.
No.
Okay, so that's out of the way. We can continue the rest of the show without chastising me.
That's right. And actually, you've led in with two perfect examples, as you always do for me. Natural disasters, which obviously put people in a state of trauma, and the fact that there is hope. Even as these things are happening, we as human beings can become engaged, and that's exactly what the book Flourish is all about.
Hope is such an important word there. As long as people know there's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel, someone's going to save me from this flooding, feed my family. It's wonderful. You have to have hope in your life, in all aspects.
Yeah, you know, I'm really privileged today to be featuring this book, because Flourish is literally written by the person that's known to us in the community of positive psychology as the founding father of positive psychology. And this piece of work is the next milestone in 10 years of what was known as happiness theory, and evolving it into how do you actually flourish. And he opens the book, unlike an academic would. This book will help you flourish. Generally, academics are not that definitive. They, you know, they're going to go on to Earth. That's exactly. They're going to go on and hedge. What this book has done is pull together the last 10 years of research, particularly with the military and in education, and the results are going to light us all on fire, and we will as
in
what way?
In what way? Because what we're saying is replacing the word happiness with well-being. Well, I don't want to lose that word.
Me
we won't lose happiness.
It is the one thing that I will disagree with my founding father about. You know, he detests the word happiness.
Yes.
I don't. Because it allows me to enter conversations with people where the word flourish may not. I can't look at my business associates and say, would you like to flourish today? They get, you want to be happier. You know, do you want this workplace to be a happier place? I call that the entry. That's the door opener. And that research has been melded into this. What they realized was that through all the years of developing different processes and using them, particularly with the military, particularly in business, because in education.
The military in the last 10 years, and the Gulf Wars, and go back to Korea and Vietnam. And they're just now recognizing more and more things with the military.
And they're coming out of studies out of Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan, where we're showing that post-traumatic stress syndrome is actually, you know, telling that the dog's tail is wagging, and instead they're focusing on the fact that you grow so much through this adversity. And they're bringing together every single person in the Army today takes something known as a global assessment tool, and it helps measure how are you with your family relationships, your social relationships, how's your spiritual health. And then they're teaching sergeants and are coming together to learn how to bring this out into the field, and people are getting resilience training.
Is the military world accepting this theory?
When 100% of all soldiers, male, female, are taking an assessment, which is then leading to resilience training, trust me, they've embodied it with their minds, with their money. And for me, as someone who started out in leadership theory, why this is so important is all of what we know about leadership and success came out of the 40s, came out of World War II,
yes.
and a lot of the studies that were done then. Well, now, this is the next evolution. This is showing that we as people can be resilient, and yes, we can teach you to both be compassionate and to have an enemy, and those aren't mutually exclusive.
So his theory here is focusing on the pathologies of depression, anxiety, suicide, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, in what way? How are we differing this from what we learned in World War II? Vietnam and Korea brought this to our focus.
Yes.
So how is it differing?
Very dramatically. The focus is actually not on the depression, is not on all of
It's not on the condition.
Correct. What it is, it's preventing it and then actually showing what happens, what good can come from those things happening. And so the focus is on...
So if we're in a state of depression, what evolves out of that?
Okay, we're trying to catch you before you get there. The
so you're doing the training
correct.
Before they go out into the
correct.
field?
Both in school systems, that's going to be the preferred model, where I teach you the techniques. Ideally, I teach the teachers the techniques. The teachers are then responsible for teaching the children, and then it becomes part of the curriculum without ever adding much to the day.
Is this like an internal dialogue? Is this a block? Is this a curtain against?
Same exact exercises that we were doing in happiness, things like the gratitude letter, and the one that I love the most is, you know, the 3 blessings, where you seed your dreams by doing, writing down 3 good things, or start a meal with your family by saying what good things went well today. Well, now they call it the 3 W's for school children. So you start the day and you say, you know, what went well yesterday, and you start their
instead
mindset.
Of what went wrong.
Correct. So you start, instead of trying, you know, you're already in the hole and trying to crawl out. We prepare you. We begin to build your muscle before it happens. Then we close the gap. What they're finding is it closes the gap on the trauma, and that's the best we can hope to do in life. You know, we are not, and it would not be good for our souls to actually say no trauma.
Erase it.
Yeah. It's.
I know we're kind of focusing on the military right now, but is our wonderful VA hospital here in Prescott, are they involved in this?
I would love to see that. When you have to understand, when a book like this, and this book is only a month old, when it comes out, the audience for this book is teachers, every therapist, everyone in the military, and all the supporting services. If we were just to address that group alone, how it would impact. I sit on the board of a spiritual center in Las Vegas. I'm going to be meeting with Colonel Sweeney at West Point next week because he is part of the work on spiritual fitness for soldiers. So what can we as a community organization do for Nellis Air Force Base?
Wonderful.
Okay, that's how this works, and that's why it can happen.
Isn't that the most amazing contradiction? Spiritual fitness, when you send someone into the field to, in essence, kill if they have to.
I understand, and that's why what we know about human development is that the way that you actually become psychologically more fit spiritually is when you finally get to the point that it's no longer black and white. God is either good or bad, I'm good or bad, this is good and bad, but you can actually held what's known as a dual perspective.
Extenuating circumstances.
Yes, so I can understand that you are my enemy, and I can treat you with compassion.
I can actually see now exactly what you're talking about. Some of the older veterans held it inside. We're supposed to be men, go into the battlefield, and now, my husband in particular, the Vietnam War, very traumatizing. He's PTSD.
Yes.
But I'm thinking if he maybe would have had some type of this therapy before, to work out that as he's doing it.
Yes, the ideal model is the one they're using now. They're getting the training before it happens. That's the ideal model. Obviously, we have many people, such as our Vietnam veterans, who didn't have that luxury. That does not mean it cannot happen, because that's what the concept of You Can Flourish. It is not about the adversity and how traumatic the adversity was, but that you then learn to reposition it. They have something known as the ABC. You know, like, what is it about the adversity? What's your belief about the adversity that then leads to the consequent effect? And you can change all that, and this is all the same stuff we've been talking about. I become aware of my perspective. Once I am aware of the way I'm holding that belief, what can I do to reframe it? How can I recraft it? How do I take the tragedy and the trauma out of the language? One of the things I've always said is take the drama out of the trauma, which is fine in my kind of work. I'm not sure I would go there in the military when it's a very different thing, but it's the same type of thing.
And Andrea, we're running out of time, but probably bringing this down into the education realm.
Just
teaching
think about
children as early as we can.
Teaching, what a gift to the teachers to be able to use this work, because that's one of the first things. Those of us who work in this field are benefited like no other industry.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
When we come back, we're going to listen to the Cheek Tones. We have Mary Hawk's Better Business Bureau. It's time to talk about Prescott Honda. That's where I bought my automobile, and that's where I encourage you to buy yours. Better cars do not have to cost more money.
I bought my slightly used vehicle there on my Jeep.
Excellent.
I did.
There's
such
another
customer service there. I'm telling you.
I didn't prompt her to say that.
Really?
I didn't tell her to tell you she bought a car at Prescott Honda. Prescott Honda is the place to buy your automobile. They teach you, treat you so well when you walk in the door. They treat you well before the sale, during the sale, and after the sale. And if you don't want a Honda, that's fine. Susan just said she bought her previously owned automobile right there in Prescott Honda. So you do the same.